Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Can You Hear Me podcast. I'm Eileen Rochford, CEO of the marketing and strategy firm, The Harbinger Group.
And I'm Rob Johnson, president of Rob Johnson Communications. Brands have been focused for years on being authentic, but with the advent of AI as a business problem solver, how authentic can your brand be? Eileen, it seems like just about every other episode is devoted to some angle of AI disrupting business and workflow, and this is another perfect example of that.
It is, and a pretty interesting take on it, too, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
this is one angle that we have not explored very deeply. So we're gonna get into some interesting stuff today. So let me just start off by saying that when communicators are required to ensure brand authenticity, that can be very hard to do when there are competing interests for your brand's relevance. And fortunately, we have someone who's an expert in this field with us today as our guest. Debbie Qaqish is the founder of the Growth Factor.
Oh,
She has
hold on.
consulted.
You have an old copy.
Oh my God.
You have an old copy. You're not reading
Ugh.
the computer.
I did this like a minute ago, so I don't know why it's
No.
wrong. Sorry,
Oh no,
guys.
it was I think she sent it like early afternoon. So I updated it early
Okay.
afternoon.
I just sent it to you, Rob. I didn't have
Yeah.
Eileen. I
Oh
didn't
no,
have
no, no.
that.
It's
Okay.
updated in the script. That's why
Oh, okay.
I don't normally jump.
Great.
For years, we have heard the importance of top brands being authentic. Now, with the significance of AI as a business problem solver, how do brands stay authentic with AI present around every turn? And how do brands overcome authenticity fatigue? On this edition of the Can You Hear Me podcast, co hosts Eileen Rochford and Rob Johnson welcome marketing expert Debbie Qaqish to explore authenticity fatigue, staying real in an AI world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Can You Hear Me podcast. I'm Eileen Rochford, CEO of the marketing and strategy firm, The Harbinger Group.
And I'm Rob Johnson, president of Rob Johnson Communications. You know, brands have been focused for years on being authentic, but with the advent of AI as a business problem solver, how authentic can your brand be? Eileen, it seems like we spend about every other episode devoted to some angle of AI disrupting business and workflow, and here is yet another example of it.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything in business that AI isn't impacting right now. So it's nearly impossible to have a show where we don't bring it up in some way. But this show, we're going to be talking about it from a pretty interesting perspective. So let's learn more about that. When communicators are required to ensure brand authenticity, that can be very, very hard to do when there are competing interests for your brand's relevance. And fortunately, today we have someone who has not just studied this field, she has helped to build it. Dr. Debbie Gah-Geesh is an owner and partner at the Pedowitz Group, where she has spent decades helping some of the world's most respected brands, including, and I know you know some of these, Microsoft, American Express, HBO, GE, and more, transform the way marketing drives growth. Today, she is bringing that experience and passion into her newest company, The Growth Factor, a marketing performance company focused on helping leaders and teams perform, grow, and thrive. Debbie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Okay, well, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's lay the foundation before we jump into the deep end. How about you give our listeners a little bit about your origin story and how you got to where you are today in your career?
A great question. And I did give a lot of thought to the origin story. And it occurred to me that there were a couple of through threads in my origin story that were just always true. Number one, it was my character strengths, which my top two character strengths are bravery and creativity. Bravery in terms of willing to go out on a limb and believe in myself, and creativity in terms of seeing patterns, right? And creating something from nothing. Plus, if you think about the different types of change agents they are, I'm what's called an inventor, right? So I like to do things that really can help alter the human capacity or systems to bring things to a higher level of performance. And when I take a look at my career path, that has been my through lines with everything that I have done. From my first career in sales, yes, I was a commodities broker for Merrill Lynch. I did that for 9 years. Would have to be in a bar, 2 martinis in for me to tell you all the stories, right? And so I've sold, I've carried a bag, I have run national, international sales teams. And then I had this little transition over into marketing, which was absolutely and positively intriguing. And when I came into the marketing world with this sales background, it just was very apparent to me that marketing needed to be doing something very, very, very different. And so that began, my latest career. And then finally, my career where I am today is I've spent decades helping organizations transform marketing into revenue centers. And now I'm all about the transformation of the people so that they can thrive at work. So that's pretty much my career in a nutshell.
Fantastic. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm interested in the whole revenue discussion because for years marketers have grappled with the fact that they are considered a cost center, doing important work but not generating revenue. But you were talking about revenue marketing, something you created. Please explain what it means and how it changes the reality for marketing professionals.
It all started with one question. I had been in sales for years. I went to work for a company. It was an equity play, and I was the CMO. And one day, the CEO walked into my office. That's back in the day when we had offices with doors, right? And his name was Rusty Gordon. And he said, "Debbie, what are you going to do about revenue?" Well, I just started laughing. And I said, "Rusty, it says CMO on that door out there. You didn't hire me to run sales. You hired me to run marketing." He said, "I understand, but let's see what we can do." And it really was that one question. And I began this journey. I found this thing called Eloqua, which is one of the very first marketing automation systems on the planet. I was customer number 12.
Wow.
And with my sales background, when I saw that technology, I said, this will forever change the role of marketing. In 2011, I created the term revenue marketing because with the technology emerging that enabled marketers to have a credible impact on revenue, it just made sense. And I will share this with you. Back in the day, we would use the term revenue marketing and we would get one of two reactions. The first, I would say revenue marketing, and they would look at me like I had just grown a second head and I was speaking Sanskrit. Or they would say, "Oh, that's really, really interesting." I wrote the book on it in 2013. And since then, my passion has been helping organizations use people, process, and technology to transform the role of marketing in revenue to move it from being a cost center to a revenue center. So, and it gives me such great pleasure when I see people who have titles like VP of revenue marketing agent, whatever it is. And I still meet people who remember me back in the day. I did a 14-city speaking tour with Marketo, and they remember seeing me speak about revenue marketing. So it's been an incredible journey. And again, in the world of B2B, there is 85% of CMOs have a number that they have to drive, that they absolutely have to deliver. And in high tech, where I spend a lot of time, it's probably closer to 100%.
So how does it work in particular? Other than finding that number, other than meeting your number, how do you get there?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. It truly is a combination of people, process, technology, and strategy. The very first thing, and I'll say that this is the key, is that first of all, this technology fully enables for this to happen. Let's be very clear about that. We used to have 2 pieces of technology. Now we have thousands of pieces of technology. So the technology fully enables it. What most often gets in the way, Rob, is the belief that marketing should be at the revenue table, should be having a conversation in this, and that collaboration with sales is always the number one indicator whether or not marketing can produce revenue with any level of credibility. So it's a function of many, many different things. But today, every single B2B organization that we go into, they're trying to find better ways to create revenue. They're trying to find better ways to create that collaboration. They're trying to find better ways so that marketing has that seat and that voice at the revenue table.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I can see Eileen's like, okay,
Yeah,
I got
like
a question.
where do we go next? But Rob, I don't want to get in your way. It looked like you were about to ask something. Were you?
No, I'm just
No?
I'm just enthralled by everything she has to say because she
Yeah.
invented it, but a lot of
Yeah.
people and to your point, you said a lot of people are using it, but I think in general people are like, hey, moving from a cost center to a revenue center, that's an approach I might want to take. So I'm intrigued by
Yeah.
what I'm hearing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You mentioned Marketo
Uh-huh,
and that 14 city tour, I believe you said.
uh-huh.
Um, and then, of course, you also mentioned there's tons of technologies that exist right now. In in your view right now, what are the top technologies that need to be involved when practicing revenue marketing?
Okay, well, my second book was called From Backroom to Boardroom, and it was all about strategic marketing operations, right? And so I mentioned that because the types of technologies that you need, there are some fundamental pieces, right? So you need a marketing automation system. And today, marketing automation systems do just about everything in one package. That's their goal, right? So everything from the ability to clean your data, the ability to do deep analysis using AI, for example, to see what does this prospect online behavior look like and what does it mean and what you should be doing differently. So you need to have technologies that allow you to interact with prospects and customers in real time. And you need to have those systems integrated across the customer facing technologies. So, for example, if you have a MarTech stack, and the average B2B marketing company probably has, I don't know, 150 different pieces of technology in their stack now.
Hmm.
And with AI, that will change radically. But guess what? So does sales. And those sales and marketing systems have to connect with one another. And guess what? So does the customer success team. And those things also have to connect. So it begins with, the foundation of data, the foundations of connectivity, the foundation of understanding how to respond in real time to the digital footprints and language that your customer is speaking. And again, marketing operations as an entity has grown immensely in the last 10 years because this is the group that buys the technology, administers the technology, and if they are a strategic marketing ops team, they are constantly thinking about better ways to use that technology so that marketing can meet their goals. They're not just button pushers.
Hmm. Yeah, it is a whole new world, isn't it? And that's exciting. So that was 2013, your second book, is that right?
First book was 2013. Second book, I think,
Oh,
was 2020.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, leap
Gosh, the
forward 7 years.
years just
Awesome. Yep. Is there a book three that we haven't heard about yet?
there is a book three. There is a book
Okay.
three. Yeah.
Well, what it may or may not be related to the line of
Oh, no,
conversation
no,
that we're
no, no.
having. So I certainly don't want to.
It's very related, and the topic will be about positive psychology skills for an always on, overwhelmed world at work.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Okay. And it has not been published yet?
Mm.
Is that right?
No, it has not. Chapters are
Okay.
outlined. Yes.
Oh, good. Well, then
Yeah.
you'll have to come back on
I
when that
would
one's
love
done.
to. Would
Okay.
love
So
to.
we'll just we'll pause on that, but that sounds
Okay.
fascinating as well. How about, Debbie, you explain for us, maybe more in depth about the idea that the next revolution in marketing is not AI, it's actually performance. What do you mean? That sounds super intriguing. You mentioned it a few minutes ago. Let's get into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Again, I think one of my skills has always been able to see patterns in the market that comes from the creativity and also the change agent type that I am. I'm not a status quo kind of girly, right? I'm not happy with status quo. I'm always looking for how can you make things better. And I have been involved with AI, gosh, a great deal. My company, the Pedowitz Group, we do a lot of stuff with AI. I was preaching about AI to my kids, like 5 years ago. They're like, "Mom, I don't want to hear it." I'm like, "Yeah, you'll want to hear this, right?" And the thing about AI in and again, the B2B marketing world and the sales world, which are the two worlds that I serve, we find that in this first evolution of AI, it's all about doing something faster and doing something cheaper and hopefully doing something better. And the thing about AI is that we were already in a world of overwhelm. If you think about the typical life of a salesperson and a marketing person, it is constant pressure, it is constant stress, and it is constant change. And Eileen, we are not biologically wired to live like that and to work like that. Yet it is the job today. So, an AI is it's just like throwing fuel on the fire for that, more things in motion, constant fears about, will I lose my job? Constant fears about this happening, that happening. And AI is going to continue to be the biggest disruptor since the dinosaurs got obliterated.
Mm.
I will say that. And because it is such a big disruptor, it's adding more to that constant change, constant stress environment. And as a result of that, we have a workforce that is quiet quitting, overwhelmed, defeated. They are fatigued. In that equation, very few companies are looking at, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my workforce? How can I help them navigate and be successful in this new world that's not going away, that's constantly changing? So AI is the accelerant, but the next revolution in marketing performance and in workplace performance really will be human performance that can navigate and thrive in an always on, overwhelmed world. That's why I say the biggest revolution will be people. The more AI comes into the game, the more we must become human centered in how we work with our employees and how we work with our workforce.
I can hear humans listening to this right now that are thinking, "Thank goodness I'm not irrelevant. I'm going to have a place to be, a place to sit at this table." And I think you just highlighted that, beautifully. And speaking of AI, because it has crept into so much about how businesses operate, that coupled with the reality that brands are always trying to be authentic, would you say that there is authenticity fatigue? And if so, how do brands stay real in an AI world when AI is having such a great influence on how it's trying to shape that brand?
Great question. And here's what I'll say about authenticity fatigue. The companies that are fatigued are the companies that are faking authenticity.
Mm.
Because here's what happens. The clients are saying, the market is saying, we want authentic brands. We want to feel like you really, understand us. So guess what? You have all of this authentic language coming out. And what happens is that for those companies that are faking authenticity, they have the language that's coming out, but the lived experience is not there. What I mean by that, think about the poor sales and marketing team that has got to put all this stuff out about being authentic, when in reality, what the client experiences is not that authentic promise. I think what we're going to be seeing is authenticity fatigue. What customers are looking for now is not words about authenticity, but proof of authenticity. So I think that the idea of authenticity, we have to stretch that definition to include the brand performance, the lived experience. If you're being an authentic brand and your brand promise is actually true and it is a lived experience of both your employees and your customers, you don't have a problem with authenticity fatigue. Now, AI can hurt that and AI can help that. We're seeing things now where brands are creating avatars that are very realistic looking influencers to promote their brands. That is not authenticity.
Nope.
And I think that moving forward, we have to think about AI as a way to help us with that authenticity. And the ability of AI to do things like to listen, to take a look at huge amounts of customer data and crunch it in like 15 seconds and give you an idea of the direction, to find friction points in your process and how you engage with customers, to spot customer buying patterns, right? There are a million and one ways that we can be using the power of AI to listen to our customers, to see what our customers really want, and also to stay engaged with them in the way that they want to. However, I'll say this again, companies that are truly have brand authenticity, they are not experiencing fatigue because their employees are passionate about who they are and what they do. There's no fatigue there. It's the ones that are faking it, that's where the fatigue is coming in.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, we all know that it's a lot harder to fake things and to perpetuate a lie, in our own existences. So pardon me. So that's absolutely true when it comes to brands. And you really got me thinking about this has to be like 30 years ago for me, but inside of one of my first jobs at Ketchum, the concept of the brand promise, that's just central to everything, and delivering on your brand promise. So it was just hammered into us, and myself and my colleagues as young marketers, that the objective for a brand is to deliver on its promise. And really the only way that you can do that is to have a true and authentic kind of representation of yourself in the marketplace, and all the things, that have to be removed so that, from the friction points that you identified. It's funny, here we are talking about the impact of AI and how it's going to change everything. But those fundamental concepts are
become more true. Yes,
exactly.
More true. And that's why this human aspect is more important than ever before in this AI crazy world. Yes, Eileen, absolutely. Yeah. And for years, all we have talked about is customer, customer, customer. I'll go into a marketing organization and I'll ask the marketers, when's the last time you talked to a customer? When's the last time you had, and I don't mean scanning their badge at a damn trade show. I mean, really had a talk with a customer, listen to a customer call, and we're just way too far away from our customer. We need to be closer to our customer. It is the answer to everything.
It is. And AI is making that distance even greater if you let it.
if you let it, or it can be your best friend, right?
Totally
So
can
it's
be.
going.
It's how you look at the problem and approach it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah. Fascinating. Okay. Gosh, you just got my head going. That's the thing about this show. It's so hard for me to like stay in the track that we're supposed to be moving in because
Yeah.
our guests are so smart and they bring all these amazing new ideas. So, all right, listeners, I hope you're sticking with us because we're moving into another one here, and then we're going to actually harken back to something that you alluded to in
Okay.
your pending publication book that I can't wait to read. So that is with marketers faced with this constant pressure that we just talked about and the stress associated with the always on living or experience that we now are in and will be,
Mhm.
very much so into the future, as well as the rapid acceleration of just change. And that also contributes to stress. All those things are going on. We cited them. So, Debbie, how important do you believe it is for marketing professionals to exhibit positive psychology, because that pressure, frankly, is just like, as you said, it never existed before. The shift of the dinosaurs, dying off is probably the last or the biggest thing that's similar to
Right.
what's going on right now and what's to come. But tell us,
Uh,
you mentioned positive psychology, but
yeah.
it's super important, clearly. But how do people bake that in to how they function?
Um, let's put this a couple of ways. Positive psychology is not woo-woo. And a lot of times if I use that term, people are like, oh my God, we're going to do like,
Yeah,
hold hands and sing
let's
Kumbaya.
chant. Mhm.
No. Positive psychology is the science of human performance. And moving into this new world that we are now engaged in for companies, I believe that employees who have a whole toolkit of positive psychology skills will outperform companies where their employees do not have these skills. It is the performance edge for today and the future. We talked a lot about how technology was a performance edge and how you use that technology. We've talked about how that focus on the customer is a performance edge. But the performance edge that truly is becoming critical right now is to help our employees better navigate the constant stress, the constant pressure, and the constant change. Positive psychology skills are very trainable. Positive psychology is becoming a huge market in corporate America because everybody realizes that you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result, right? And
Mhm.
our employees are truly suffering. And as I mentioned, we are not biologically wired to be working in this type of environment. That's a whole lizard brain story, which is very, very, very different. And so if you think about having a performance edge, if you think about a simple set of skills that helps people really kind of like in two categories. Number one, navigate the crap that they're going through, right? And there's a whole set of skills easily taught that'll help them there. And then number two is not only do you help them navigate it, but how do you actually help them thrive at work? When was the last time we had a whole team who was actually thriving at work? And there are a handful of companies that do that. And those are companies that have brand authenticity, by the way. Okay.
Mhm.
So I think that if you think about positive psychology in terms of a performance edge, it is a set of skills that are not widely taught, but is growing in interest and popularity. And in times of stress, think about what happens to us. Our thinking narrows, we become more reactive. Our decision-making abilities are highly impacted. It weakens confidence. We get defeated and exhausted. And then with a set of positive psychology skills, you can just turn that around, right? And again, what I've done in my company is I've applied this to the B2B marketing organizations and the sales organizations in B2B, primarily in high-tech firms, right? And it is as simple as they are, they can just be life-changing on the job. Let me give you an example. I'll give you a quick example. How many times does a marketer show up to work and, oh my God, it's another change? They haven't even finished the last change, and here comes another change, right? So they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling defeated, and they just kind of like spiral out. Well, a very simple thing that you can do is just called epoche, just kind of sit back for a minute. First of all, I realize I'm totally discombobulated here. I'm very unhappy. I'm very stressed out about this latest change. Okay. So you just kind of step back, you take a pause, and you say, well, what can I do? What can I control right now? Because you will spiral into this downward thinking around things you can't do anything about.
That's wasted energy.
Take a look at the situation and just say, what can I control right now? What is the next action I need to take? That gives you that sense of control back. It puts you back in the driver's seat. How simple is that?
It's perfect.
Seems so simple.
It is, and so wise.
Very wise. Okay, not that you haven't imparted just reams of incredible information here, but as we wrap things up here, is there any particular piece of wisdom that you haven't shared yet that you'd like to share with our listeners about this whole journey that these marketers are on?
Well, I'm a passion-led person, and one of my pieces of advice to people, I actually wear a bracelet every day, and there's a whole story around it. It says lead with purpose, or I'm a purpose and a passion-led person. I would say this because we're talking to folks that have careers in marketing. Know your purpose and follow your passions, no matter what they are, and because you are an individual. And if you're in a job where you are miserable, where you can't use your character strengths, it's okay to say, what do I need to do that's different? We spend too many hours at work not to be as happy as we can. And again, find a place in a career that works for you. And don't be afraid to try new things. That is the number one thing that I would share with marketers, regardless of where they are in their career. Follow your passions, lead with purpose, and find a place in a way that you can thrive.
Love it.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. And learn more about positive psychology while you're at it.
Absolutely. Oh my God, it's all over TikTok. Just put positive psychology and it's tidbits everywhere.
It is. It's everywhere. And I'm going to make a prediction that we will be seeing chief positivity officers not long from now. You could be.
But again, that is not the same thing as having a wellness room, right?
No, it's totally not. No, it's totally not. But like, if there's someone on point to teach, the positivity skills and to infuse that into the culture as a matter of practice, like a chief positivity officer, that could be,
Eileen,
tremendously.
I love that idea. I'm going to do a post on that. I'm going to give you credit for something. I have not thought about that at all. But if you think about your workforce is your primary asset, and you want them to perform at the best levels, this is where you need to be investing in your workforce.
That's so true.
I totally agree. Because if you do not have positivity, you cannot build resiliency. You can't. That is absolutely true. So
you heard it
totally
here first.
Get the connection.
Chief Positivity Officer, CPO. All right.
Yes. So thank you. This is going to be fun to explore more. Wow. Debbie Qaqish, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. This has been just one of those shows where I've got a billion light bulbs going off in my head, and I love it.
Oh, that
So
makes me so
thank
excited to
you.
hear
Yeah,
that. I love
yeah.
that. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Eileen and Rob. I enjoyed it so much, and I admire the work that you guys do. And yes, so thank you for having me.
And when we
It's
grow up,
been a
we want to be
pleasure.
Debbie Gah-Geesh. That's awesome.
Yeah, we
Keep
do.
up the great work.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, everybody. Thank you all for listening. I'm Eileen Rochford. If you would like to comment on our show, Can You Hear Me, or suggest a topic, just contact us at our Can You Hear Me LinkedIn page, or you can check out our newsletter. You can give us ideas, via our LinkedIn page for show topics that we should do in the future, all those kinds of things. But we'll leave that information in the show notes, as well as mentions of Debbie's first two books. And you can expect to see her back on the show when her third is published. How about that, Rob?
What's the least we can do? Debbie has been very kind and got my book. And when we were talking recently, she showed me that it was all like,
It was all marked up. I thought I
All the
had it right
markers, yeah.
here.
It was
I was going
It's
to
all good.
put it up in
It's
the
all good.
show. Where is it?
Well, I'll have to show you mine too. I have the
Okay.
same highlights.
Thank you for
and
doing
we
that.
can-
At least
we
it's
can
not on your
compare.
dartboards. That's all I care about.
No.
I'm Rob Johnson. If you liked what you heard, please consider giving Can You Hear Me a positive review wherever you get your podcasts, such as Apple or Spotify. This helps other listeners find our podcast. And please check out our website at canyouhearmepod.beam.ly. Thank you so much for listening.